Who invited you? That wasn't a casual question whispered in a corner. It wasn't said in jest or with the polished civility of a red carpet soiree. No, it was loud. It was unmistakable. It was reportedly said by Rihanna, international music icon, fashion mogul, billionaire, and unofficial queen of every room she walks into, on a cool November evening at the 2025 Gotham Film Awards in New York City. And the person it was allegedly directed toward? Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, former actress, global brand and freefall. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Seconds later, according to stunned eyewitnesses, security was summoned. Flashes popped. Murmurs turned into gasps. And Meghan, yes, Meghan, was escorted off the red carpet as cameras rolled and the internet watched in real time. But how did we get here? How did a woman once hailed as the fresh, modern face of royalty become an uninvited presence on one of the most exclusive nights in Hollywood? Why did Rihanna, known for her effortless cool and rarely public beefs, break her usual code of silence to intervene so forcefully and so publicly? And why now? Because this wasn't just a red carpet moment. This was a message, a reckoning, a symbolic collapse of the high society clout Meghan Markle had fought so hard to build and desperately try to maintain. What played out on that carpet wasn't just a celebrity misunderstanding. It was a battle of image, power, pride, and rejection. So let's rewind. Let's peel back the sequins and smiles, the press releases and paparazzi filters, and expose what really happened that night, and why it's reverberating across Hollywood, Buckingham Palace, and Montecito. Because if you think this was just about a woman showing up at the wrong party, think again. It goes deeper. Much deeper. And it all starts with one whispered question. Who invited you? Let's begin the descent into the night Meghan Markle's Hollywood mirage shattered. It was supposed to be another glittering evening on the industry calendar. The 2025 Gotham Film Awards were back in full swing, celebrating independent cinema, emerging directors, and cultural excellence. It was the kind of event where handshakes led to film deals, where casual encounters became Vanity Fair spreads, where A-list royalty like Cate Blanchett, Michael B. Jordan, and of course, Rihanna, seamlessly mixed with bold new voices in film. The energy was electric. Rihanna was set to receive a Vanguard Award for her recent work producing a boundary-pushing indie film that critics were already calling Oscar bait. Dressed in custom Maison Margiela, she had arrived flanked by her team, head held high, signature smirk in place. She wasn't there to gossip. She was there to dominate. Then the crowd parted. Another woman emerged at the end of the red carpet. Click, click, click. Flashes burst. Cameras adjusted. The photographers paused. Some looked confused. A few snapped photos out of habit. It was Meghan Markle, wearing a deep green satin gown, rumored to be from her own soon-to-launch fashion label. She strode toward the entrance like she belonged. Only she didn't. There was no official mention of her in pre-show media. Her name was absent from the presenter lineup. No campaign trail film, no nomination, no scheduled appearance. The energy shifted. The murmurs began. Was this a surprise guest appearance? Or something else? According to 3 separate reports, including one from a film executive who chose to remain anonymous, Meghan had not been on the official guest list. Not even the extended one. And yet, here she was. And somewhere down that carpet, Rihanna noticed. That's when the moment happened. The reported words, "Who invited you?" delivered loud enough for several bystanders to hear. Loud enough for security to glance toward Rihanna. Loud enough that Meghan, according to body language experts who later dissected the footage, visibly froze for a half-second before composing herself. What followed happened fast. Almost too fast. Ahead of security. Rumored to be part of Rihanna's personal protection detail, approached Meghan. There were no raised voices, no public scuffle. But within minutes, Meghan was redirected, cameras were shifted, and the Duchess of Sussex was nowhere to be seen. Online, it took seconds to erupt. Did Rihanna just throw out Meghan Markle? Rihanna asked the question the world's been dying to ask. Meghan crashing events now? The hashtags trended within minutes. Hashtag who invited you? Hashtag Gothamgate. Hashtag red carpet rejection. But let's pause right here. Because if we're going to understand why this happened and why it matters, we need to understand the larger chessboard Meghan was playing on, and why Rihanna wasn't just reacting to one moment, but responding to a pattern. Over the past 3 years, Meghan Markle's trajectory in Hollywood has shifted sharply. In 2021, after her and Prince Harry's blockbuster Oprah interview, she became the toast of the town. Producers called. Podcast deals landed. Netflix gave her a platform. Spotify cut her a check. Brands lined up for endorsements. Activists praised her boldness. Celebrities, at least publicly, offered support. She was royalty without the rules. Fame without the firm. A storybook character for the social media age. But then the tide started turning. Her Spotify podcast fizzled. Netflix projects stalled. The public began questioning the substance behind the headlines. Tabloid chaos, inconsistent messaging, and a PR strategy that seemed increasingly chaotic turned applause into skepticism. And while Meghan tried to pivot into lifestyle branding, philanthropy, and authentic storytelling, the industry began to look elsewhere, especially after the mixed reviews of her latest business venture, the With Love, Meghan brand, an ambitious lifestyle empire that had launched with much fanfare but was already facing returns, recalls, and bad press. Suddenly, the it girl of anti-monarchy rebellion was being left off party lists. Doors she expected to open didn't. People who once aligned with her stayed silent. And yet, Meghan hadn't adapted. According to sources close to several event planners in LA and New York, there had been several instances where Meghan allegedly RSVP'd to events she wasn't technically confirmed for. Always showing up in designer glam. Always arriving early enough to beat the press crowd. Was it a strategy? A miscommunication? Or a deliberate power play? Either way, the industry was starting to take note. So when she appeared at the Gotham Awards, an event known for its tight guest list and curated red carpet appearances, it wasn't just a faux pas. It was a headline waiting to happen. And Rihanna? She was done being subtle. Here's what made the moment even more shocking. Rihanna and Meghan had no known beef, at least not publicly. They had never been seen together in photos. They didn't shade each other on social media. There was no tabloid feud. No overlapping exes. Nothing. So why did Rihanna, of all people, react with such visible disdain? Was it about turf? Brand clash? Something more personal? Or had Rihanna simply decided to say what others wouldn't? Because in Hollywood, silence is currency. Public confrontations are rare. Most disagreements are settled in shadowy PR calls, not on red carpets. So for Rihanna to speak up, to allegedly question Meghan's presence aloud, in public, in front of photographers, was not just a break in decorum. It was a declaration. And maybe it had been a long time coming. Perhaps Rihanna, whose empire is built on authenticity, self-reliance, and not playing games, saw in Meghan a reflection of everything she rejected. Or maybe, as some insiders have hinted, this wasn't the first time Meghan inserted herself into a space she hadn't been invited to. Either way, Rihanna decided that night wasn't going to be about anyone else's drama. It was going to be about her. And she made sure of it. But what about Meghan? What was going through her mind as she stood on that carpet, hearing those words? What calculation was she making? Did she expect this reception? Or was she genuinely shocked? Because if you watch the footage, grainy as it may be, there's a moment right after the reported call-out where Meghan turns to glance toward Rihanna. Her expression? A flicker of recognition. Almost resignation. It's as if she knew the walls were closing in. Knew this moment, like so many before it, would go viral. And once again, she wouldn't control the narrative. Only this time, no one was coming to save her. The Gotham Film Awards would go on. Rihanna would receive her standing ovation. And Meghan? She would vanish into the night. No statements. No social media posts. No damage control, yet. But the moment had already been captured. The story already written. And the question already asked. Who invited you? A question that now echoes far beyond the velvet ropes. Because this wasn't just about one red carpet. Or one confrontation. It was the spark that reignited every rumor, every tension, every hidden grudge in Meghan Markle's Hollywood saga. And what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. Have you ever seen a moment so surreal, so unscripted, that it felt like the universe hit pause just to watch it unfold? That's exactly what happened on the red carpet of the 2025 Gotham Film Awards. People weren't just stunned, they were frozen. Eyes wide. Phones raised. A-list celebrities looking side-eye at one another. Paparazzi caught in hesitation. For a heartbeat, the entire atmosphere at one of Hollywood's most prestigious indie nights shifted into something else entirely. It began as a whisper, a ripple of confusion, a stutter in the camera flashes. And then, Rihanna turned her head. The crowd parted. And there, standing tall, camera ready, posing like she belonged on the cover of Vogue, was Meghan Markle. But the moment didn't land with applause. It didn't come with cheers or even polite gasps. It came with silence. Uncomfortable, dead-air silence. The kind of silence that follows someone walking into a room they shouldn't be in. And just like that, the illusion shattered. Who invited her? That wasn't just a meme waiting to happen. It was the exact phrase reportedly uttered by Rihanna herself, loud enough for at least a dozen witnesses to hear, as Meghan walked further into the spotlight. But let's rewind, because this moment didn't happen in a vacuum. It was built, second by second, glance by glance, from the very second Meghan Markle's car door opened that evening. Meghan stepped out onto the pavement like she was walking into a destiny-defining moment. Maybe in her mind, she was. She wore a rich, emerald green gown with a plunging neckline, designer unknown at the time. Though rumors swirled it was from an up-and-coming label she'd hoped to endorse through her, with Love, Meghan platform. Her signature soft waves framed her face. Her diamond earrings, some speculated they were borrowed, caught the light just right. Her eyes? Calculated. Focused. Poised for flashbulbs. But what she didn't see, what her team clearly missed, was the growing confusion around her. Red carpet staff exchanged whispers. Publicists fumbled with tablets. A stage manager radioed someone. Words clipped and tense. She's not on the list. No, she's not on either list. Still, Meghan pressed forward. 2 photographers, only 2, began to snap pictures. Out of habit? Maybe. Or maybe out of curiosity. After all, this was Meghan Markle. Former royal. Archewell founder. Netflix producer. Public fascination incarnate. But curiosity isn't the same as welcome. Within seconds, Rihanna spotted her. Standing at the far end of the carpet, surrounded by her team, Rihanna was mid-conversation with an indie director when her gaze flicked over and locked onto Meghan. Now imagine this. You're Rihanna. You've just spent months pouring your energy into a serious, boundary-pushing indie film. You're being honored tonight. The carpet is yours. And suddenly, a woman you've reportedly had zero connection with, zero reason to expect, zero collaboration history with, shows up. Cameras begin redirecting. Chatter builds. All the attention, pulling away from your moment. Wouldn't you ask the same thing? Who invited her? But the thing is, Rihanna didn't whisper it. Multiple witnesses confirm. She said it out loud. Pointed. Cool. Cutting. And that's when the temperature on that carpet plummeted. Here's where things got uncomfortable fast. Meghan didn't slow down. In fact, she smiled. A bright, rehearsed smile. The kind she gave at Windsor Castle. The kind she wore during her Archetypes podcast rollout. The kind that said, everything is fine. I'm in control. But she wasn't. Not this time. As she reached the step and repeat, a staffer approached her, whispering urgently. Meghan nodded dismissively. Then another. And behind them, a tall man in a tailored suit, earpiece visible, calmly moving through the crowd. Security. Not aggressive, not threatening, but present, purposeful. According to sources, the head of security didn't even address Meghan at first. He spoke to her assistant, then to a PR rep standing nearby. Then, only when it was clear she wasn't backing away, did he step forward and quietly ask her to please accompany him inside for clarification. Clarification. Translation? You're not supposed to be here. Now, at this point, several cameras had started rolling. Not the official Gotham Awards stream, but independent bloggers, TikTokers, press stringers. One shaky live stream caught the entire exchange from 20 feet away. What it shows is chilling in its subtlety. Meghan freezing. Meghan looking past the security guard. Meghan making eye contact with Rihanna. And Rihanna? Unbothered. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't glare. She simply tilted her head, turned to her assistant, and, according to one lip reader, mouthed the words, "Handle it." That was the moment it was over. Within seconds, Meghan was escorted, not dragged, not shoved, but guided, toward the side entrance. The press, sensing something huge, turned their cameras. Flashes reignited. Voices rang out. Meghan, why are you here tonight? Meghan, what's your reaction to being asked to leave? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The footage said it all. Now, here's where it gets stranger. Right after Meghan disappeared from view, a publicist from her team, believed to be a relatively new hire brought on after her prior PR manager stepped down, tried to argue with security. They insisted Meghan was invited, that her name was on a supplemental list. But no such list existed. Within 20 minutes, the Gotham Awards team had already circulated a quiet statement to attending journalists. Meghan Markle was not an invited guest, presenter, or participant in tonight's program. We asked that all coverage remain focused on the nominated talent and honorees. Cold, precise, final. And yet, the damage had already been done. By the time the show began inside, TikTok was flooded with clips. Hashtag Meghan thrown out trended alongside hashtag Rihanna rules. A 6-second clip showing Meghan turning to look at Rihanna as security approached had been watched over 4.2 million times within the first hour. What made it so viral wasn't just the drama. It was the expression. Because if you freeze the frame, pause it at the exact moment, what you see on Meghan's face isn't anger. It's shock. Real, unfiltered, unguarded shock. And maybe even betrayal? So let's ask the question. What was Meghan Markle doing there? Was it a mistake? A stunt? A calculated publicity move? Or had she truly believed she was welcome? Some insiders believe Meghan was working from old playbooks. Show up, pose, let the headlines follow. After all, it's worked before. In 2021, she appeared at a fashion industry dinner unannounced and still got front-page coverage. In 2023, she popped into a Netflix premiere she wasn't attached to, and the studio spun it as a show of support. But 2025 is a different climate. This is a post-failed podcast, post-brand recall, post-Netflix cooling off Meghan Markle. And the appetite for surprise appearances? It's gone. Especially among celebrities who've worked hard to distance themselves from what some insiders now call the Markle effect, a PR phenomenon where the attention a person brings is not always the attention you want. So when she stepped onto that red carpet without clearance, she wasn't just testing boundaries. She was crossing a line. And Rihanna? She drew that line in the sand. Here's what adds another layer to the story. No one, not a single celebrity, stood up for Meghan that night. Not publicly. Not even in whispers. In fact, several guests reportedly clapped after Rihanna's moment. Discreetly, quietly, but pointedly. It wasn't just personal. It was symbolic. The crowd had chosen a side, and it wasn't Meghan's. And maybe that's what hurt the most. Because for all her branding, her causes, her curated narrative of strength and resilience, this was a raw moment of rejection. Not from tabloids, not from internet trolls, but from the very elite circles she once called her own. And as she disappeared from view that night, one paparazzo shouted the question that's since become immortalized on merch, on memes, and on commentary reels. Meghan, did you crash the party? She didn't answer, because by then it was too late. But if you think this was the whole story, just a dramatic red carpet moment and a bit of celebrity friction, think again. What happened next, away from the cameras, inside the walls of the venue, and in the hours following the incident, took things to another level entirely. Because behind the velvet ropes, someone else was watching. Someone who knew Meghan well, and someone who had warned her not to come in the first place. What was said in that warning? And why did Meghan ignore it? The answer will unravel everything we thought we knew about that night, and reveal who truly betrayed her from within. Did Meghan Markle actually crash the Gotham Film Awards? Or was she set up? That's the question that exploded across newsrooms, social media feeds, and gossip columns the morning after the incident. And it wasn't a simple tabloid curiosity. It was a genuine mystery that no one seemed able or willing to fully explain. Because let's be honest, for someone of Meghan's profile, showing up at a high-profile Hollywood event uninvited isn't just awkward, it's career suicide. So was this just a colossal misunderstanding? Or was someone behind the scenes pulling strings to embarrass her on purpose? As the headlines screamed and the footage replayed in slow motion across every gossip outlet imaginable, a chilling possibility began to take hold. What if Meghan Markle wasn't the villain of the story? What if she was the pawn? And what if this entire spectacle, the moment, The outburst, the viral humiliation, had been designed to implode her reputation once and for all. Let's follow the breadcrumbs, because they lead somewhere dark. First, the most critical question. Was Meghan Markle actually invited to the 2025 Gotham Film Awards? If you ask her team, yes. If you ask the Gotham Film Awards Executive Board, absolutely not. Two completely opposing versions of the truth. And right there, in that contradiction, is where the theory begins to unravel. According to a source close to the event planning committee, who spoke under condition of anonymity, Meghan's name never appeared on any of the official RSVP lists. Not for honorees, not for presenters, not for +1s, not even on the overflow guest contingency. Nada. She wasn't on the primary or secondary guest list, the source confirmed. And trust me, if she was, we would have known. There are layers of vetting before anyone steps on that carpet. Yet Meghan showed up confidently, poised, cameras ready, which raises the uncomfortable question. Where did she get the impression she was welcome? Was it a communication breakdown? A mix-up by a junior publicist? Or had someone deliberately fed her the wrong information? Because here's where it gets interesting. Insiders have revealed that someone from the event production team did, in fact, communicate with Meghan's camp several days before the ceremony. But it wasn't an invitation. It was an auto-generated reply sent after Meghan's PR firm allegedly inquired about her attending in a support capacity for female-led independent films. Support capacity. That phrase again. That slippery, vague term often used by celebrities to insert themselves into events they have no official role in, but want the media benefits of. But here's the kicker. Meghan's PR rep, a relatively new hire at the time, reportedly interpreted the polite reply as a soft green light. They ran with it. Booked glam. Booked car service. Leaked Meghan's planned attendance to a gossip columnist. And just like that, the machinery was in motion. But was it really just a misstep? Or something else? Let's back up. Over the last year, Meghan's team has reportedly been scrambling behind the scenes to repair her image in Hollywood. Following the collapse of her Spotify deal, the delays in Netflix production, and the underperformance of her lifestyle brand, invitations started drying up. Quietly. Without press releases. Events that once begged for her name on the guest list suddenly had scheduling conflicts. Collaborations that once seemed inevitable. Radio silence. According to two industry insiders, Meghan's new PR team adopted a high-visibility strategy to combat the narrative of isolation. Get her in the room. Get her in the frame. Remind people she's still Meghan Markle. Which, in theory, makes sense. Until it doesn't. Because showing up uninvited, even if unintentional, isn't just risky, it's insulting. Especially in Hollywood, where social currency is guarded like gold. Which brings us to the more sinister possibility. Did someone intentionally leak misinformation to her team, knowing it would backfire? The theory isn't far-fetched. Hollywood is a town built on sabotage disguised as kindness. A smiling face at brunch who hands you the wrong address for the afterparty. A fake tip about a producer really wanting to meet you at an event you weren't supposed to attend. The moment you take the bait, you're exposed, and the rumors begin. She's desperate. She doesn't get it. She's spiraling. All of which Meghan's detractors have been whispering for months. So imagine this. What if someone Meghan trusted within her own camp orchestrated the setup? An assistant, a former friend, a disgruntled team member? Someone who had access to her communications, who could subtly nudge her toward a public humiliation while keeping their hands clean. Because once you entertain that idea, everything about that night starts to look calculated. Take, for example, the timing of Meghan's arrival. According to eyewitnesses, she showed up precisely 17 minutes before Rihanna was due to arrive. Why does that matter? Because Meghan knows how red carpets work. She's done them for years. You don't just show up at random. Every appearance is timed, down to the second, to avoid photo overlaps or awkward encounters. Unless that's exactly what you want. Was she trying to position herself ahead of Rihanna's entrance? To get her photos in before being overshadowed? Or worse, did someone advise her to arrive at that time, knowing Rihanna would see her, and knowing Rihanna would not be pleased? Because if you believe some corners of Hollywood gossip, there's long been quiet tension between the two women. They've never collaborated, never posed together, never even shared a polite tweet. And that's weird in an industry this interconnected. Even at major industry galas, Meghan and Rihanna reportedly avoided each other. Whether by accident or design, their circles didn't overlap until that night. So when Rihanna allegedly said, "Who invited you?" some believe it wasn't just exasperation. It was recognition. Recognition of a pattern, of behavior, of someone walking into a space she wasn't meant to own. And Rihanna? She decided to shut it down. Publicly. Without a filter. But here's where the betrayal theory gets even darker. Insiders from Meghan's Montecito household say that days before the Gotham Awards, she was warned not to attend by someone she's trusted for years, Tyler Perry. According to two sources, Perry reached out privately to Meghan after hearing whispers from event staff that some people were questioning her attendance. The call was brief, polite, but clear. The message? Not your night. Don't let them bait you. And Meghan's response? She thanked him, said she appreciated the advice, but she was going. A choice that, in hindsight, looks tragic, because maybe Meghan genuinely believed this was her comeback moment. Her chance to show the world she was still powerful, still relevant, still welcome. But if someone within her circle, someone she trusted, fed her false signals, then she was walking straight into a trap. And not just any trap. A calculated, televised downfall orchestrated by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. So now we're left with questions. Painful ones. Did Meghan's own team betray her? Did a rival celebrity engineer the fallout? Was it just bad judgment or a setup from within? And perhaps the most damning question of all, did Meghan see it coming and choose to walk into the fire anyway? Because the look on her face, that moment the cameras caught her as security approached, wasn't just embarrassment. It was betrayal. Pure, undeniable, personal. As if the people she thought would protect her had vanished. As if the red carpet she expected to own had become a stage for her public unraveling. And the world? It watched. It laughed. It replayed the clip until the humiliation became part of the meme cycle. But what the world didn't see, at least not yet, was what happened immediately after Meghan was led away. Because someone else was already waiting. Someone with a direct line to her. And a history she's tried to forget. What he said next sent shockwaves through Hollywood. And it might just unravel everything we thought we knew about Meghan's inner circle. What could drive Rihanna? An artist known for being cool, calculated, and famously unbothered, to step out of her usual composure and allegedly call out Meghan Markle on a red carpet? That question wasn't just echoing through social media in the hours after the Gotham Awards. It was roaring, loud, heated, divisive, and for good reason. Rihanna doesn't do drama, at least not publicly. She's not a clapback queen on Twitter. She's not one for catfights in the press. She handles her business behind the scenes. Quietly. Ruthlessly. Elegantly. So what made this different? Was this confrontation a personal vendetta? Or a professional boundary being trampled one too many times? Let's get one thing straight. This wasn't some fluke outburst. Sources close to Rihanna say she had every reason to be furious, and that the tension between her and Meghan had been simmering for over a year. You just weren't supposed to know about it until now. And once you peel back the velvet curtain, you'll see that what happened that night was the culmination of a long brewing war over clout, fashion, branding, and power. Two women, one red carpet, and a collision that shook Hollywood to its core. Let's dive in. Start with this. In 2024, Rihanna's Savage X Fenty line made a bold pivot. While already dominating the lingerie world, she expanded the brand into luxury evening wear with a new collection called Fenty Noir. A couture-inspired, edgy, red carpet, focused line aimed at replacing stale legacy brands. And the Gotham Awards? It was the unofficial launch. Rihanna was not only receiving an award, she was debuting a custom Fenty Noir gown to cement the brand's arrival on the high fashion scene. A full-circle moment. A carefully orchestrated fashion and business rollout. It was supposed to be her night. Enter Meghan Markle. Now here's where things get juicy. Meghan, too, had quietly been working on her own fashion endeavor, a conscious elegance, lined through her brand with love. Meghan, aiming to blend accessible royal style with sustainability. Think muted tones, silk blouses, timeless coats. A sharp pivot from her Montecito rebrand fiasco. But according to two fashion insiders, Meghan had attempted, unsuccessfully, to open talks with Rihanna's design team earlier that year. Why? To discuss a potential co-branded capsule collection. Something subtle, Something female empowerment, focused. But Rihanna? She wasn't interested. Not even a little. She didn't even respond to the second email. One Finney executive told a fashion columnist on background. It was a pass. Hard stop. Why? According to the same source, Rihanna saw it for what it was. A clout grab. Rihanna knew what time it was. Meghan was chasing relevance, not synergy. That's not all. Just 3 months before the Gotham Awards, Meghan's team reportedly attempted to book her for a Savage X Finney fashion show as a special guest commentator for a documentary-style behind-the-scenes featurette. It would have placed Meghan, former royal lifestyle advocate, inside the fashion world she was trying to infiltrate. And again, Rihanna said no. Twice. Now ask yourself, how would you react if someone who tried to leverage your brand then showed up to your event, on your carpet, uninvited, and tried to steal the spotlight? Would you stay silent? Would you smile and pose? Or would you snap? Because when Rihanna saw Meghan walking into her space that night, there wasn't just surprise. There was anger. Controlled. Elegant. Nuclear. The kind of fury that doesn't need shouting. Just 6 syllables. Who invited you? And it wasn't just the fashion. There's a deeper, quieter war happening in the celebrity ecosystem. One between two kinds of influence. Rihanna represents the self-made powerhouse. Started from music, expanded into makeup, built a billion-dollar empire without needing royal titles, pity interviews, or curated media narratives. Her audience loves her because she's real, raw, and never asks for sympathy. Meghan, on the other hand, built her post-royal brand through curated victimhood, curated elegance, curated partnerships. Her empire, what's left of it, is built on exclusivity, brand deals, and platforming her own perspective. The clash was inevitable. Rihanna's allergic to pretenders, one music industry executive said. She doesn't like people who try to flex credentials they didn't earn, especially not in her house. And that's exactly what the Gotham Awards had become that night, Rihanna's house. So when Meghan showed up unannounced, in a gown suspiciously close in cut and color to one from Finney's unreleased collection, it wasn't just awkward. It was war. Let's talk about the dress. Yes, the emerald green gown Meghan wore that night was gorgeous. Flowy, regal, perfectly tailored. But according to eagle-eyed fashion bloggers, it bore striking similarities to a Finney Noir prototype worn by a model during a closed-door presentation in Paris weeks earlier. Was it coincidence? Was Meghan's designer inspired by the same silhouette? Or was it intentional? One anonymous source from inside the fashion house claims Rihanna saw the photo of Meghan stepping out of the car that night and immediately recognized the resemblance. She said, "That's my ****ing dress." That's when the energy shifted. Rihanna didn't just feel upstaged. She felt plagiarized. So when she raised her voice, when she asked the now famous question, "Who invited you?" it wasn't just a sassy remark. It was a shot fired. And Meghan? She took the full brunt of it. Now here's a twist most people don't know. There was one brief, fleeting moment when Meghan and Rihanna were in the same room before. Not at an award show. Not at a charity event. At a private industry brunch hosted by a major luxury brand in 2023. According to 2 guests, Meghan approached Rihanna and complimented her incredible empire. Rihanna responded with a simple, "Thanks, babe," and turned away. That was the end of it. No selfie. No networking follow-up. No casual banter. And ever since then, Meghan's name hasn't appeared on any Finney affiliate lists, PR blasts, or sponsored campaigns. In a town where social ties mean everything, that was a neon red flag. So maybe what happened at the Gotham Awards wasn't the beginning. Maybe it was the final straw. A culmination of quiet rebuffs, attempted alignments, and 2 women with completely different visions of power. And on that red carpet, Rihanna chose to make it public. Here's another layer, one almost no one's talking about. In the weeks leading up to the Gotham Awards, Rihanna had reportedly signed an exclusive contract with a streaming platform to develop a docuseries about women in fashion, identity, and power. Guess who had previously pitched a similar concept? Meghan, with Netflix. And according to industry whispers, the pitch had been rejected. So when Rihanna's version got picked up, there were murmurs. And when Meghan showed up on that carpet, on that night, at that event, some in Rihanna's camp felt it was more than coincidence. It was provocation. A way to say, you might have gotten the green light, but I'm still a force. Except she wasn't. Not in Rihanna's house. And not in that moment. Still, here's the part that surprises people most. Even after the security escort, even after the footage went viral, even after the Gotham Awards issued a quiet statement confirming Meghan's non-invited status, Rihanna said nothing. No tweet, no Instagram caption, no shady subtweet, not even a cryptic quote. Why? Because she didn't need to. She'd already said everything she needed to, on camera, with one sentence. The message was clear. This is my space. You are not welcome here. And when you're Rihanna, you don't need a PR team to spin your image. You just need 6 words. But for Meghan, the fallout was just beginning. Because in the silence that followed, something else emerged, something far more unsettling than a red carpet snub. An audio leak, a phone call, a whispered warning that Meghan ignored. And the man on the other end? Someone from her past. Someone who knew exactly how this would end. How does a woman go from being the most talked about royal figure in the world to being quietly shut out of the very industry that once rolled out the red carpet for her? How does someone who once commanded interviews with Oprah Winfrey, meetings with Netflix CEOs, and praise from Time magazine become a persona non grata in Hollywood's elite circles? That's the question insiders began asking in hushed tones long before the Gotham Film Awards meltdown. And after that night, it became undeniable. Meghan Markle had lost the room. Not just metaphorically, not just socially, literally. She walked into a room she wasn't supposed to be in and was walked right back out. But the truth is, the Gotham incident wasn't an isolated event. It was the symptom, the culmination of something far more dangerous in Hollywood, a reputation shift, a slow, creeping unraveling of goodwill, a subtle withdrawal of invitations, a steady retreat of support. Because in the world of fame and influence, once people start whispering about you being too much, too difficult, or too divisive, the doors don't slam shut. They just stop opening. And for Meghan, the doors have been closing quietly for over a year. You just weren't supposed to notice. Until now. Let's go back to the beginning. When Meghan and Harry stepped down from royal duties in early 2020 and landed in Los Angeles, the city rolled out its welcome mat. A-list parties. Strategic meetings. Their Montecito estate was a revolving door of stylists, executives, and starstruck allies. There was a genuine curiosity. Excitement. Here was a royal, actual royalty, entering the world of celebrity. Something new. Something unpredictable. Netflix signed a mega deal. Spotify followed. Publications like Variety and The Cut offered glowing coverage. But behind the scenes, a different story began to unfold. Hollywood, for all its glitter and glam, thrives on one unspoken rule. You deliver, or you're done. And over the next 2 years, Meghan's output began to show cracks. Let's talk numbers. Her Spotify podcast archetypes, while heavily promoted, underperformed expectations. Despite the initial buzz, listener retention plummeted after the first 3 episodes. By the season's end, the deal had quietly ended, and the streaming giant didn't renew. Then there was Pearl, her animated project with Netflix. It was supposed to be her creative baby, empowering, bold, feminist. But before it even got past pre-production, Netflix pulled the plug citing strategic shifts. Strategic, yes, but not accidental. And those within the industry began to see a pattern. High promise, low delivery, lots of noise, little substance, which might be tolerated if you're charming, if you're easy to work with, if you're not stirring drama every time you step into a room. But Meghan? She brought the drama. Every time. Remember the Vogue debacle? In mid-2024, Meghan was slated to guest edit a digital feature for Vogue US, a follow-up to her successful British Vogue guest edit back in her royal days. But according to 3 separate sources, the project imploded in the 11th hour. Why? Creative differences, control disputes, timeline conflicts. But off the record, Vogue insiders said Meghan was impossible to please, constantly rewriting approved segments and demanding final cut rights over all visual content. In short, a nightmare. The piece was scrapped. The public was told it wasn't the right time. The truth? It was a mess. And the fashion world noticed. Soon after, Anna Wintour allegedly cut off direct contact. Next came the With Love, Meghan brand. A lifestyle empire launched with lofty promises. Sustainable luxury, Emotional wellness, authentic elegance. The result? Scented candles priced at $72. Silk notebooks at $48. Rose oil skin serum that reportedly gave several influencers rashes. And an $850 alpaca throw blanket that was mysteriously out of stock within 2 hours, but never seen again. Then came the returns. The complaints. The lawsuits from a small supplier who alleged unpaid invoices. For a brand meant to heal and inspire, it triggered more stress than serenity. And in an industry that values clean optics, this was bad PR poison. Even worse, Meghan kept pushing forward as if nothing was wrong. Then there's the human element. Multiple stylists, makeup artists, and assistants have either quietly walked away or refused to re-engage with her team. No public feuds. No tell-alls. Just silence. Vanishing collaborators. An A-list stylist told a friend, who leaked it naturally, "Working with Meghan is like being on the Titanic. Beautiful ship. But everything's about to sink, and she'll still be rearranging the flowers." That's harsh, but telling. Because in Hollywood, loyalty isn't just about contracts. It's about energy. Who you align yourself with. Who gets you invited back. And increasingly, Meghan's name wasn't making the lists. She wasn't being considered for roundtables. She wasn't getting booked on panels. Not because of a conspiracy. Not because the world is out to get her. But because people didn't want the drama. The PR headaches. The risk. Because one misstep with Meghan, and you're part of a scandal you didn't ask for. And for most, it's just not worth it. Let's also talk about those close calls. There have been multiple near misses where other celebrities nearly went public with complaints, then backed down at the last minute. One famous designer, you know the name, was rumored to have refused to dress Meghan for a film gala in 2024, telling his rep, "I don't need the Markle effect on my brand." Another high-profile actress allegedly pulled out of a panel discussion on modern feminism when she learned Meghan would be one of the surprise guests. And then there's the now infamous quote from a BAFTA after-party guest. Meghan doesn't enter a room. She arrives like it's a coronation. And then everyone gets nervous because they're wondering what drama will follow. That's brutal. But again, telling. Now here's where it gets especially ironic. For years, Meghan and Harry complained that the royal institution didn't support Meghan's Hollywood transition, that she was suffocated, misunderstood, treated like a threat. But now that she's out, free, independent, it turns out the royal palace might not have been the problem, because now the silence isn't coming from Buckingham. It's coming from Beverly Hills, and it's louder than ever. Which brings us back to that red carpet. That painful, now iconic moment when Meghan Markle stood in front of cameras, expecting admiration, and got rejection instead. Rihanna didn't just speak for herself. She spoke for a growing portion of the industry that's been tiptoeing around Meghan for too long. Who invited you? Translation? You're not welcome anymore. It was blunt, brutal, cold, but honest. A reflection of the industry's slow, awkward, but definitive withdrawal from Meghan Markle's orbit. But why does it matter? Why is this more than just celebrity gossip? Because Meghan's journey is more than fame. It's a study in modern image building and the consequences when the image cracks. She was given the rarest gift, control over her narrative. She had the sympathy of the world, the support of major platforms, the ear of presidents and publishers. But somewhere along the line, she lost the room, not because of critics, but because of choices. PR spins that rang hollow, brands that didn't deliver. A refusal to read the room, to evolve, to recalibrate. And in Hollywood, that's the kiss of death. Now imagine being Meghan, watching that video play on loop. The silence, the question, the escort, knowing the world isn't behind you the way it once was. Knowing the people who used to protect you now avoid your calls. Knowing you're being watched, but not adored. What do you do next? How do you spin this? Where do you go? Because just hours after that red carpet debacle, a name from her past popped up. And what he said, cryptic, cutting, and timed perfectly, made one thing very clear. Meghan's old life was coming back to haunt her. And it started with a single post. From a man who once knew her better than anyone. What would you do if the one person who once opened their doors to you suddenly told you to stay away? What if the man who gave you sanctuary when the whole world turned against you picked up the phone one day and said, "Don't go to that event"? And what if you went anyway? That's exactly what insiders claim happened between Tyler Perry and Meghan Markle in the final 48 hours before the Gotham Film Awards. And what he allegedly told her could have spared her the most humiliating moment of her post-royal life. But she didn't listen. She went. And it may have cost her the last true ally she had in Hollywood. Let's rewind. Most people remember the name Tyler Perry from that infamous detail in Prince Harry and Meghan's 2021 interview with Oprah. When they fled the UK, it was Perry, media mogul, billionaire, and unlikely savior, who stepped in. He provided them with his private LA mansion, security, privacy, a soft landing when they were at their lowest. "I'll protect you," he reportedly said. It wasn't just kindness. It was loyalty. And for years, that loyalty never wavered. He attended Archie's first birthday party. He was reportedly involved in the christening discussions. He even defended Meghan against dangerous smear campaigns on Twitter, once clapping back at a troll. "She's stronger than you'll ever understand." So what changed? Why would he, of all people, try to stop Meghan from attending the Gotham Awards? And how did it all go so wrong? Let's break it down. According to two well-placed sources, one in Perry's Atlanta camp, another in LA, Tyler Perry received a call 2 days before the Gotham Awards from someone close to the event planning committee. The tone? Cordial, but serious. The message? Meghan Markle's name is floating around as a potential surprise attendee. "We're getting nervous. This is Rihanna's night. This could blow up." They didn't want trouble. They didn't want headlines. They didn't want Meghan. The source claims the committee member reached out to Perry not just as a friend to Meghan, but as someone who still carried influence. A bridge. And Perry, allegedly hesitant, but firm, made the call. He rang Meghan directly. What was said in that phone call has not been confirmed on the record, but according to multiple insiders, the essence of the conversation went something like this. "Meg, don't do it. I know you want to show face. I know you've been rebuilding, but this isn't the moment. They're not ready. Let them come to you." Reportedly, Perry spoke gently, like a big brother. Cautiously, respectfully, but his concern was real. He'd seen the signs, the whispers, the emails not returned, the invitations that never came. He was worried this would blow up in her face. And he wasn't alone. Allegedly, a member of Meghan's own new PR team agreed with Perry privately. They advised her to wait for a bigger moment, something with her name on it, a return on her terms. But Meghan? She didn't want to wait. Some believe this defiance stems from something deeper. A desperation to reclaim control, to remind the world that she's still Meghan Markle, style icon, culture shaker, Duchess of Sussex. She believed her presence would command attention. And she wasn't wrong. It just wasn't the kind of attention she imagined. Still, Meghan reportedly thanked Perry for the call. Politely. She listened, took a pause, but didn't commit to staying home. And that, insiders say, was the moment Perry realized she was going anyway. Here's where it gets heartbreaking. The same sources claim that Tyler Perry called her again, the night before the event. He'd caught wind of rumors, that her stylist had confirmed fittings, that a driver had been scheduled, that press leaks were being prepped. He tried one more time. "Meg, you don't need to fight every battle. Sometimes silence is power. Don't walk into a room that doesn't want you there." She allegedly responded. "Sometimes you have to show up to remind people you're not going anywhere." A bold line. Defiant. Poised, but naive, because that room didn't want her there. And worse, someone in that room wanted her to fail. So what did Perry do? Nothing. He stepped back. He didn't attend the awards. He didn't post support. He went silent. And the silence was deafening. Because for a man who once leapt to defend Meghan at every turn, his decision to let her walk into that situation, without a net, said everything. Some interpreted it as betrayal. Others as exhaustion. A source close to Perry offered a different take. He's not angry. He's just done trying to save someone who refuses to be saved. After the incident, there was no word from Perry. No phone call. No statement. No post. It was as if he'd finally drawn his boundary. And Meghan? She didn't reach out either. Not right away. For days, according to reports, she was locked down in Montecito. Reeling. Rethinking everything. Watching the footage. Reading the comments. Grasping for someone, anyone, to help spin the moment. But no one came. No influencers. No stylists. No media personalities. No Oprah. No Tyler. Just silence. And in that silence came the loudest response of all. A cryptic Instagram story. Black background. White text. Posted on Tyler Perry's private IG stories for less than 2 hours. The hardest lessons come from the people you fight hardest to defend. No name. No tags. But everyone knew. The blog screenshotted it before it vanished. And the internet lit up. Is Perry shading Meghan? Did he finally cut her off? Even Tyler is backing away. The betrayal, if that's what it was, hit deeper than the red carpet drama. Because Perry was more than a friend. He was a lifeline. A symbol of loyalty when Meghan had none. And now, even he seemed to have reached his limit. But why did Meghan ignore him? Why did she disregard the one person who always had her back? Some say it was pride. Some say it was desperation. Others believe she's become so surrounded by yes-men and strategists that she no longer listens to real counsel. She's insulated, one PR executive said. No dissent, just PR-driven pep talks. No one's telling her the truth anymore. And the truth was what Perry saw coming before anyone else. She wasn't ready for a comeback. Not yet. Not there. Not like that. But here's the part no one expected. That same week, someone else from Meghan's past resurfaced. Not Tyler. Not Oprah. Not Harry. Trevor Engelson. Yes, that Trevor. Her ex-husband. The man who never spoke publicly. The man who refused interviews, book deals, TV rights. The man who vanished. Until now. He didn't say much. But what he did post shook the internet. And for Meghan, it was a reminder that her past isn't just behind her. It's watching. And it might be ready to talk. What happens when your big comeback brand becomes a punchline? When the carefully crafted symbol of your authentic self turns into a meme. When your products, not your presence, become the red flags that Hollywood executives point to when they quietly pull back. For Meghan Markle, with love, Meghan wasn't just a brand. It was her redemption arc, her lifeline, her bid to control the narrative on her terms. After failed partnerships, bruised media relationships, and vanishing A-list alliances, the plan was simple. Create something Meghan controlled. Meghan curated. Meghan owned. No royal family. No Netflix middlemen. Just her. Elegant. Empowered. Empowering. But instead, it turned into a slow-burning PR disaster. And it might explain exactly why her appearance at the Gotham Awards was met with such fury, resistance, and ultimately, rejection. Because in Hollywood, your name is your currency. And if that name is attached to a mess, even a subtle one, people stop answering your calls. Let's unpack what went wrong. And why with love, Meghan became the final straw in an already crumbling brand. Let's start with the rollout. It was supposed to be intimate, purpose-driven, luxe with a conscience. Meghan had long teased that she wanted to enter the lifestyle space, not unlike Gwyneth Paltrow with Goop or Jessica Alba with The Honest Company, but more elegant. Less wellness, more refined simplicity. And in spring 2025, she did. With love, Meghan launched with a series of limited edition products. A signature candle, a silk sleep mask, a vegan leather journal, an herbal tea blend inspired by California Clarity, a minimalist rose serum, and a $145 gratitude stone. Yes, a polished rock wrapped in a ribbon. The branding was pastel. The fonts were soft. The messaging was delicate, intimate, aspirational. And the price tags? Eye-watering. Almost everything was over $70, with bundles topping out at $310. But okay, celebrity brands are always expensive, right? That wasn't the problem. The problem was the promise. The brand promised radical transparency, ethical sourcing, small batch craftsmanship, personal touches inspired by Meghan's own rituals. Only none of it held up. Within 3 weeks, the problem started. Customers began complaining that the candle, titled Monty Citrus Dawn, was burning unevenly and produced a chemical scent. Several social media users said the fragrance reminded them of industrial bathroom cleaner. The silk sleep mask had seams that unraveled after a few uses. The tea blend arrived in plastic containers, not the advertised biodegradable packaging. The rose serum? Some influencers who had been sent early PR boxes reported breakouts and rashes. One TikTok skincare creator posted a video titled, "I tried Meghan's $72 face oil, and now I have hives." That clip alone received 9.6 million views. The gratitude stone? The internet obliterated it. Parody accounts popped up. Memes rolled in. A viral post read, "Why pay $145 for Meghan's gratitude stone when I can go outside and find a rock for free?" One satirical Etsy shop began selling knockoff versions titled Spare Rocks for $1.45 each. Within a month, late-night talk shows picked it up. Jimmy Kimmel joked, "It's like Goop, but with more tears." Stephen Colbert deadpanned, "When your Duchess career crumbles and all you have left is pebble-based enlightenment." Ouch. But the problems went deeper than bad press. Because behind the scenes, the claims behind the brand began to unravel. Journalists from Harper's Bazaar and Business of Fashion started digging. One report revealed that the herbal tea blend was not actually produced by a California artisanal apothecary, as advertised, but a mass production facility in Canada that made dozens of generic private label teas. Another exposé showed that the vegan leather journals were sourced from a bulk supplier in China, one that had previously been called out for questionable labor practices. Then came the employee drama. An anonymous former contractor from the logistics team leaked an internal email in which a senior executive allegedly said, "Don't tell her the candle wax issue yet. She'll spiral." Spiral. That one word made headlines. It implied a frantic, chaotic management style, one where Meghan ruled with emotion, not structure, control, not collaboration. And in an industry already whispering about difficulty, this didn't help. Suddenly, Meghan wasn't the visionary founder. She was the over-involved, under-informed brand builder out of her depth. Then came the influencer backlash. In May 2025, a mega beauty YouTuber named Cami Blue, 14 million subscribers, posted a brutally honest, unboxing with love Meghan video. She tested the serum, sniffed the candle, flipped through the journal. And by the end, she sat in silence, then looked dead into the camera and said, "I don't know who this is for. Rich moms in denial? Trauma tourists? Rebranded Duchess stans? It's beige nonsense." That review alone racked up 21 million views in 4 days. Even more devastating, other influencers started pulling out of previously scheduled sponsored content. One fashion blogger posted a screenshot of her brand contract and wrote, "I was going to do a paid review of With Love, Meghan. I declined. Something about it feels off. The brand doesn't walk the talk." Soon after, marketing watchdog accounts started tagging the brand for not properly disclosing partnerships, leading to warnings from the Federal Trade Commission. The brand's shine? Gone. At this point, the brand's internal team reportedly descended into panic mode. Product returns surged. Customer service backlogs piled up. 3 junior staff members reportedly quit within 2 weeks, citing toxic top-down mismanagement. And Meghan? She allegedly tried to course-correct. More Instagram posts. More quotes about wellness. A sudden push for a With Love, Meghan pop-up shop in Malibu, which was quietly canceled 3 days before launch. The rumors were swirling. She's bleeding money. She's yelling at interns. She's going to try to relaunch it as a nonprofit. Even Harry, who'd been supportive from the sidelines, was reportedly growing frustrated with how the brand's implosion was reflecting on their family's joint efforts. Their charity work was being overshadowed by a $145 rock. Let that sink in. So when Meghan walked onto that red carpet at the Gotham Awards, it wasn't just about being uninvited. It wasn't just about Rihanna. It was about everything she carried with her. The baggage, the bad press, the brand that had become a punchline. For some in the room, her presence was no longer impressive. It was a liability. They didn't want her on that carpet because she'd become a distraction, said one fashion publicist who attended. Not a statement, not a guest, a PR risk. Rihanna, in her Fini Noir debut, didn't want her thunder stolen by a duchess clinging to relevance. The event organizers didn't want to spend the next day fighting Meghan-gate headlines. And Hollywood? It was tired. Tired of the drama. Tired of the spin. Tired of the promise without the product. And so when security escorted her off that carpet, it wasn't just about rules. It was about reputation. Because in this town, once your brand becomes a joke, so do you. And Meghan was on the verge of punchline status. But if she thought that was the end of it, she was wrong. Because hours later, just as the internet was digesting the Gotham humiliation and her brand's backlash, someone else entered the story. Someone she hadn't spoken to in years. Someone she'd likely hoped had faded into the shadows. Her ex-husband. Trevor Engelson. He didn't write a book. He didn't go on a podcast. He didn't do a tell-all. He posted a cryptic, brutal message. And the timing? Chilling. Every scandal needs a scapegoat. But what if the scandal wasn't just a result of bad decisions, but sabotage? What if Meghan Markle didn't walk into that Gotham Film Awards disaster blindly? What if someone wanted her to fall? And what if that someone was standing right beside her? Because when the dust began to settle after the red carpet meltdown, and the headlines finally moved from Rihanna ejects Meghan to what went wrong, a far more sinister question started to emerge. Did someone